And welcome to Central Georgia Focus. I'm your host, Fredrick Price. Today we're going to be talking about the United Way of Central Georgia. We have heard of this organization, but how exactly does this organization work? We have two gentlemen here that are going to be talking to us about that. We have the CEO of the United Way, Mr. George McCandless, and Danny Gibson, the founder of Glad Rags, the annual Glad Rags golf tournament benefiting families at Christmas. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, though, I want to understand the get-up that you all have, because we were talking a little bit about this. And although it is, in the Halloween spirit, you do have a legitimate purpose for wearing what you have.
Yeah, so, Frederick, this has nothing to do with Halloween. This has everything to do about dressing up to play golf like the gentlemen and ladies that dressed up to play golf in the 1920s. So we have a golf tournament that's themed around that.
Okay. And so can you also talk to me, let's get back to the Glad Rags golf tournament. I want to understand more about why exactly is it called Glad Rags?
So thank you for asking that. I like sharing that. I started having a vision somewhere in the late 90s about doing something to help families that might need a little help at Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I also have always just loved the game of golf. I love the tradition of dressing up to play golf. So I started thinking, what if we have a golf tournament around the Christmas season and we theme it for like the 1920s? What would we call it? And so I started doing a little research, and as I did my research, I found that in the 20s, rural people especially, when they were going to go into town on Saturday or for their monthly shopping or whatever, they would say, let's put on our Glad Rags and go into town. Mm-hmm. So I had that planted in my brain, but I wasn't quite sure. And my business required me to do a lot of travel. So I remember one day I was in Atlanta as I was thinking on this and what will we do? What will we call it? And I was thinking Glad Rags, does that resonate? And while I was thinking about that, on the radio, Frankie Valli came on and sang a song, Rag Doll. And in that song, Frankie Valli has the lines that says, I would turn her sad rags into glad rags if I could. And honestly, I thought, man, God is telling me, let's call this the Glad Rags tournament.
And thus here we are.
There it is. Yep.
So United Way obviously having a big role in this too. Kind of talk about the role that United Way is playing in this.
Yeah. So knowing Danny, the first year of the tournament, he invited me to play in it, and I was a supporter of it. But then a few years later, the opportunity came for us to partner together on it. So we discussed it, and it seemed like a good way. It made some sense. We could bring some support to the logistics of running the tournament. And then here in the last few years, where it has really blossomed, when Mayor Miller asked us to get involved and with the Brookdale Resource Center that he had started, and asked United Way if we would come in and help manage the facility. And what we saw is that over time, we were seeing a lot more families coming into the facility than just individuals. As I tell people, at any point in time, half the residents at Brookdale are school children. It's a school bus stop for the Bibb County School District. And so with the purpose of this tournament to provide, holiday support for children in need, the last couple of years, we've totally focused it on the families and the children at Brookdale. As we were talking, most of us fondly remember Christmas as a child and the excitement of getting up and not knowing what may be under the tree and stuff. Well, imagine these children that are already, they're living in a resource center, mm-hmm. and they're in school and their peers are talking about Christmas. You can't turn on the TV or go out in public without seeing Christmas. I mean, imagine how emotional that would be not to have a Christmas. Mm-hmm. So thanks to Danny and this golf tournament, the families at Brookdale, and especially the children, they have a heck of a Christmas every year.
I know it puts a smile on their face every Christmas when they have toys under the Christmas tree. And
Oh, absolutely. Well, and not only that, it empowers their families, because what we do is we let the families and the parents actually go shop. The children don't think that, this is coming from anybody other than either Santa or their family. It's not coming from me and Danny or United Way or Glad Rags. We want those children to have as normal a Christmas experience as possible.
So we know what this tournament, or who is it benefiting, obviously those families, but how are you able to raise all this attention and all of these funds to give back to these people?
So, we are extremely delighted to partner with United Way. But we also give through other avenues too. We have organizations in Macon, and I'm just going to use some for instance, not naming all of them, but the Boys and Girls Club, the Mentors Project, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. They also help us identify families that are working but need a little extra help during this time of the year. Because George mentions, the gifts and the presents and all of that is really important. But there are some people that can't even afford a tree. So what I think about when I start thinking about this is the pressure that would put on a hardworking mom or dad to have that extra burden of how am I going to make sure that my children or my child has a good Christmas. So we try to help alleviate that. There's such a vast population that lives in our area that are hardworking people. They work in jobs that provide for all of us that we all need, but yet they're living week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and anything that can disrupt that can be catastrophic to their financial situation. And I think Christmas falls into that, the pressure. We might not even have a tree. We might not even have food to have a Christmas dinner. But we can help with that. And that's what Glad Rags is all about, and it aligns so closely. And it's just such a good thing to work with the United Way of Central Georgia that does multitudes of great work.
Oh yeah, you certainly do. Well, we're going to talk to you gentlemen. We're going to continue our conversation. We're going to head off to a break and talk more about the Glad Rags tournament after this. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus. We're talking about the United Way of Central Georgia. George McKinless is the president and CEO of the United Way of Central Georgia, and Danny Gibson, the founder of the Glad Rags and the annual Glad Rags golf tournament, benefiting families at Christmas. So I want to touch on some dates and some information that people need to know about if they're going to be participating in this.
Okay. You had asked earlier, how do we raise the money? A big part of it is thanks to corporate sponsors. Danny just retired as the president CEO of Metro Power. They're an incredible sponsor, as well as other companies. But we also have individuals that play. So if you would like to play in the Glad Rags Golf Tournament, it is Friday morning, December the 8th. You can go on unitedwaycg.org and find out the information. And this year, we actually have a special guest that's going to be there. Former NFL quarterback Joe Theismann.
Really?
Is going to be with us and playing in the tournament. So if you want a chance to meet Joe, this would be it. And to support an incredibly good cause.
Oh, that does sound like that's going to be an incredibly good time, too. So there are a lot of families not in poverty, but obviously, very close to it. Can you talk about how and why the United Way is really just important for them in this time of their life? Things are very tough, they may be struggling.
Yeah. So this is actually a new framework that we're bringing to the community. It's called ALICE, which stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, but Employed. And these are the essential workers in every community. They're our food service workers, they're our hospital workers, our emergency responders, and they're working families that, though, are earning just below what's considered the livable wage for any area. And so this ALICE framework was developed 15 years ago by the United Ways in New Jersey. And then they have since spread this around the country to other states that are interested. Georgia, we will become the 29th state to bring this framework here. And what it does, not only does it help us tell the story, but in many ways it helps us focus on who we're exactly trying to help. It is to keep these families that just one $400, $500 expense could be the difference between them being financially stable and them ending up, for example, at the Brookdale Resource Center. And we have example after example of exactly what that's like. One lady had been in a house with her children for almost a decade, and the owner sells the house. The new owners don't want to lease it. She's asset limited. She doesn't have the money for a down payment. And before she knows it, she's living in her car with her children. And fortunately, here's about Brookdale. And so by coming to Brookdale, we're able to work with her, get her and her family stabilized, and get them into a more stable, permanent living environment.
And when you tell those stories and you see those families that are able to get back on their feet, just how does that make you feel to know that you are just helping those people get back to a sense of normalcy, a life that they want to continue to live?
Well, for those of us at United Way, it's very powerful. We get to see that every day, which is what's exciting about working there. What we're also trying to do, though, is to get the folks in the public that support United Way, that volunteer with United Way, to also feel a piece of that excitement as well. Nothing that we can do at United Way could happen without the support of the community.
And the website does talk about third grade reading levels being a pivotal benchmark that weighs on the odds of children's future success. But how is the United Way really addressing third grade reading levels in this community particularly?
Yeah. Third grade reading is a national problem or a national issue. It's just not here. But our very first community impact initiative was to start Read United, and this is getting volunteers in the community, and through a partnership with local school systems, we're now into 6 of the area school districts. We go in and provide one-on-one tutoring with K through 3rd graders to help address the 3rd grade reading levels. All the statistics show 70% of everyone in prison right now is functionally illiterate. The incidence of children getting into legal issues before they're 18, a lot of it is around not being reading at 3rd grade level. The axiom, if people haven't heard it, is up to 3rd grade you learn to read. After 3rd grade you have to read to learn. And so if you don't, it's a fundamental skill that if you don't have, school gets increasingly harder, which drives the dropout rate, which drives the other issues.
Yeah, that is a startling statistic that you mentioned for sure. Okay. 211, it's something that the United Way does. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Again, a national program that every United Way localizes for their market. But 211 is an information and referral service. We keep a database of all the resources that are available in the community for people that need them. And so just like you would call 911 if you had an emergency a legal emergency or an accident or something. Call 211 if you're having some kind of a social service emergency. You don't have food for your family, or you've got a housing situation, or whatever it may be. If you call 211, somebody will be there to help direct you to an agency or an organization that can help you address that need.
And can you quickly kind of tell us why is that a big need in the community to have 211, to have that easy access in case someone is going through an emergency?
Well, I mean, so many people just, they don't know where to turn. And again, like with a 911, just having a number that you can call. So if you're temporarily homeless, or again, it's an issue with food, or you're having some kind of a medical challenge, whatever it is, there are people in the community that can help you, and this will direct you directly to them.
Good. And can you also remind our viewers of the dates for the tournament again, too, just in case they may have forgotten?
Yep. Friday, December the 8th at the club at River Forest, up in Monroe County. And again, they can go on our website, unitedwaycg.org, and all you golfers out there, sign up and come play, and you get to see Danny and me, and you get to have Joe Theismann's autograph.
Oh, yeah, that's a very special time for sure. Well, we need to take a break. How do you donate to our volunteer of the United Way? We'll tell you about it coming up next. Welcome back. We're talking about the United Way of Central Georgia. This organization does so much to help the community. How can you help the United Way continue its mission? So some say United Way is like a philanthropic advisor, but what exactly do they mean by that?
Fredrick, a lot of people have financial advisors because they don't know the best places to invest their retirement funds. And some people look at United Way as that philanthropic advisor. They want to help in the community, but in many cases they don't know exactly what the greatest needs are, or they don't know who's doing the best work in the community. And that's a role that we think we can help fill in knowing where the greatest needs are and who is doing the best work addressing those needs. And so the whole theory behind United Way, we just celebrated our 100th anniversary here in the community, is to get people to go in together and pool their funds so that we can make some substantive changes in some big social issues, poverty, which is a big issue here, homelessness that we have touched on, third grade reading. I mean, these are big challenges that take more than just one organization or one effort to address.
And like many organizations, donations are kind of part of this. Could you talk about how people can really be a part of this thing that you all are doing through donations?
Yeah. Obviously, donations fuel a lot of what we're able to do. One thing I do want people to understand, all the money that's raised here stays here. Every United Way in the country is a separate organization. So there's nobody at some corporate office that's dictating how we spend the money or invest the money in the community. It's all determined by local volunteers, our local board of directors. Danny is being one of those. If they want to give, we run company campaigns at many organizations if your company runs a campaign. If not, again, go to unitedwaycg.org and you'll see the donate button. And if you have any questions or want to talk in more detail, my contact information is there. I am totally open to one-on-one conversations with prospective donors.
I'm sure a lot of people would like to be talking to you after this interview. Danny, we talked about donations just a moment ago. I alluded to it, but really, It's not just those donations that are making this event possible. There are a lot of people, a lot of organizations that are helping with this. Can you talk about that too?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Fredrick. So there are many organizations involved, many businesses involved, and many individuals involved. So we want to make sure that we let our sponsors, the participants that pay to play in the golf tournament know that we are very appreciative to them. I'm also very appreciative to the Community Foundation, because that gives us a mechanism where we can set up our foundation in order to be able to gift this money. And so we're very appreciative to them. This whole experience, working with United Way and George and his team, working with Glad Rags, is very satisfying. It is very humbling. It makes me so appreciative to be in the position that I'm in. But it's also a blessing to see other businesses, other individuals come forward and give to help in whatever capacity they're doing that. And we're very appreciative.
And how I know you're genuine about that is because every time we talk about this, your face just lights up like it's like red, like it's Christmas lights.
Yeah, I get excited. One of the things that I think about is when I bring all of this together, it's a concern for community and people. Mm-hmm. A deep-rooted passion, and I was brought up with helping anybody that we can and everybody that we can. Wonderful stories of my dad that was never wanted to be in the limelight, always below the radar. And so that compelling desire to want to help the community, a love of Christmas and the Christmas spirit, a love of family and the warmth that comes together from being in family. I'd say a fanatical love of golf, and also a love of dressing up like gentlemen and ladies to play a gentleman and ladies sport. It's wonderful.
Oh, it is. It certainly is wonderful. The Roaring Twenties, can you talk more about that too?
Yeah, so the Roaring Twenties is to me one of those times when we had what I consider with my own brain to be one of the most premier of dress-up times ever. Mm-hmm. People wore sporty outfits. You went everywhere you went that was in the public. You were wearing your Glad Rags. You had on suits. The ladies were dressed. The men had on hats and ties. And society has changed, and I'm certainly not down on that. But I think it's wonderful to be able to dress up, and it's also fun to realize, some of these great golfers from the 20s. They played with rather cumbersome garb on.
Oh yeah.
It's not quite as free as some of the sportswear we have nowadays. Mm-hmm. But the Roaring Twenties, it was right before the stock market crash, right before the Great Depression. So it was a wonderful time in America. And people were happy, and they were giving, and they were having a lot of fun. So when I think about the 20s, I think about that. I also think about what happened at the end of the 20s and then through the next 15 years and how tough that was for people, not only of the United States, but all over the world. And that just sort of makes me want to do even more to help people when we can.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you two gentlemen for being here and talking about the United Way and the Glad Rags tournament. I know it's going to be a lot of fun for sure, but also helping a good cause, to say the least. Thank you all for joining us for Central Georgia Focus. We'll see you next time.